Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Gaming with Yearling. I'm here with my co-host Mojo,
Howdy.
and we're going to talk to you about this new game mode that came out on the 18th, Ewok Hunt for Battlefront 2. So we've been playing it a little bit. I usually don't play these. I guess like Jetpack Cargo and now Ewok Hunt. I usually don't play them a whole lot because I really like Galactic Assault, like I think most people do, because you can play in vehicles and as heroes and stuff. But I gotta say, I'm actually pretty impressed with this game mode. In a previous video we were talking about how we thought it might not be that cool, but there could be some cool elements to it. And I think that while there are still some things they could add to make it really cool, I do have quite a bit of fun playing this. It's kind of outside the genre of the bigger game Battlefront 2. It's more like a horror game, which is pretty interesting. Yeah, but we've been playing it a little bit.
Yeah, in the other video I said that I kind of had mixed feelings about them making this game, and I kind of still have the same opinion. Actually, it's pretty good. I was impressed in a lot of ways, but personally, there's some things I just don't like about it. My number one pet peeve when I'm playing a video game, and I understand that this is a genre and everything, but I can't stand when it's dark and I can't see what I'm doing. So for me, I get really frustrated with this game really early. But outside of that, I actually think it's not half bad.
Yeah, I gotta say, I like that it's dark, and I like that we can only be in first person. So if you don't know, in this game mode, you either start out as one Ewok or a Stormtrooper, and what happens is the Stormtroopers are stuck in first person, and they have a flashlight that has a cooldown, kind of like an L1R1, like on the Tauntaun, how that kind of lasts for a while and then it goes away. And then the Ewoks have, I guess, better vision at night, and they have a little grenade, but they have very low health and stuff. And also the Stormtroopers' health doesn't regenerate super quickly, and so it's kind of this game mode where you're like a survivor in the woods, and you're getting attacked by monsters.
Yeah, the goal is, like the game calls it, to survive a night on Endor. So that's that's what you're trying to do. Unless you start as an Ewok, of course, then you're trying to keep the other people from surviving on Endor. But yeah, it's pretty fun. If I were to change something, I kind of am disappointed that there really isn't anything besides the flashlight and the gun for the Stormtroopers, unless you find a box in the woods. But I've had a hard time finding them. I know you found it a couple times. It'd be nice to have something, not necessarily a grenade, but even just some sort of, I don't know, extra health in situations, or a temporary night vision on your scope or something like that, just to kind of give another element, because I really like to play with those. I'm not all about just pointing and shooting. I like to kind of lay traps and do stuff like that. So.
Yeah, as you can see on the screen right now, it's you do very little damage to the Stormtrooper, and you only have, I think, 80 health. So it's kind of difficult. You've really got to be sneaky. You've really got to think about, where you're throwing that grenade, and
as the Ewok.
And think about, if I throw a grenade from here, they're gonna look this way, and then, but I was thinking that, yeah, you do just start out with the E11, which is the basic blaster, if you don't know that, and then you can pick up a pack that lasts for your whole life, so you'll get the DC-15E. Which is, if you remember, the gun that was pretty broken because of its low cooling rate or heating rate, where you could just shoot explosive shot forever. A couple weeks ago, they took forever to fix that. And then you also get an incendiary grenade, like the one that the Flame Trooper has in the First Order. So, balancing in this game mode, I think that it is certainly tilted in the direction of the Stormtroopers, because if they get in a group, like they are on screen right now, one can have a flashlight going while the other is on cooldown, and then there's also a cave on the map where you can kind of just sit in this cave, and the Ewoks, there is kind of a hatch, that they can come in from the top, but it's really not that effective. There's basically 2 or 3 entrances, and if you get there early enough, you and your team can kind of just guard the doors. And, And then at one point, you do have to. I mean, it's not like you just are surviving for a certain amount of time. You have to, after I think it's like 10 minutes maybe, a shuttle lands, and the stormtroopers have to go to the shuttle and try to escape from Endor. So, at least that's in there. I think that's good because it gets the stormtroopers to just not camp the whole time. I wish that it was a little bit, that's only at the end. So for almost the entire game, they can kind of camp in a group, and it's really difficult for the Ewoks to do anything. There are also traps on the map, so if you're not careful as a stormtrooper, you can walk over these traps. If you look on the screen now, it's kind of, I just ran by one. And that also brings up another thing. The Ewoks can also go into these huts on the ground, and it does like a loading, not like a loading screen, but it kind of transition, and you end up on the walkways up top.
Well, yeah. So there's a lot of like good design in the game. I really appreciate them making like those traps and the like huts to the trees, and like that's really well done. We've seen Endor a couple times now as a map, and it's nice to see it yet again a little bit different and a little bit improved. So that's fun. One of my favorite things about this game is that it is set to that time limit. It is that 10-minute game, or 11-minute. I don't know what it ultimately is. And this way you have something to play if you're don't have a lot of time. Like if you play a game of Galactic Assault, it's always longer. Well, not always, but you don't know how long it's going to be. Taylor and I like to take turns with different games, so he might get a 5-minute game and I might get a 30-minute game. You don't know. With this game, it's a nice, easy, consistent timeline, so it's easy to kind of plan who's going to play when and all of that. So I appreciate that a lot. My favorite way to play this game, and it probably drives the other stormtroopers nuts, is I like to find the group and then just use their flashlights and keep mine off, because I'm not very good at it and I hate the dark. So that way they have a target kind of on the back of the ones with the flashlights, but I can still see and I don't have a target.
Yeah.
But I'm sure my fellow stormtroopers probably hate that.
Well, so I've got a question for you. So Mojo and I have been playing Shovel Knight on the Nintendo Switch recently. And I think that there was a night level on there I think that you maybe had a bad experience with. Does your hate of night levels come from Shovel Knight, or is this a thing that you've been dealing with for a while?
Oh, I've always had this. And actually I played Ewok Hunt before I played that level on Shovel Knight, so that really wouldn't make any sense. Now, going back games in the past, even like Diablo 3 and some of the darker levels, even when Battlefront 2 came out for the first time, we had been playing Battlefront 1 before that. And there were some dark levels of Battlefront 2, and it took me a good 2 to 3 months of playing the game where I finally it didn't bother me anymore. I thought the graphics were great. I mean, the graphics are great in Battlefront 2, but I hated it at the same time because I couldn't see. And Taylor, you remember I was always yelling at the TV, and you were saying, shoot that, and I'm like, I can't see it. So for whatever reason, I just have these blinders on whenever it's not super bright in a video game. I even contemplated turning the brightness up on my TV because I couldn't handle it. But I adjusted, so maybe the same will happen with this.
Yeah, I have to say, for some levels in Dark Souls, I totally cheated and turned the brightness up, which I know is a total get good moment or whatever. If you've ever played Dark Souls and you've struggled with it, and you have a friend who's beaten Dark Souls, their favorite thing to say is get good.
I've never heard that, but I've never played.
Yeah, I mean, I tell you to get good basically all the time.
I've never noticed.
Like when I'm watching you play this game, and I'm like, man, just shoot that guy, and you're like, throwing grenades and throwing a flashbang, and you.
Oh, that doesn't happen anymore, really.
Oh my goodness, it happens all the time.
When?
Oh my goodness, it happens every single game that you play.
I thought you tried to say in the last video that I was better at at this game than you. So do you flash bang and shoot random things because you can't see? No, so.
But you do.
But then how am I better?
I'm going to retract my statement, and I'm going to say you're somewhere between 5 years and 6 years old at this game.
Okay, at this mode maybe.
Which is
I never thought that you were that I was better than you, but you've been pretty insistent. In Galactic Assault, as the officer and the heavy, sometimes I kind of can outdo you, but you beat me in the ships and the heroes. I'm not not exactly well versed in those, but the basic play, I feel like it's a pretty strong step competition.
Yeah. Well, and I'm glad for that because, it's always best to play games with somebody who kind of knows what they're doing. As opposed, I mean, it's fun to play with somebody for the first time, but if you have to keep playing with somebody who's only as good as somebody who's playing it for the first time, after a while it gets kind of like, like if you're playing like a racing game like Mario Kart or something and you just totally destroy somebody every single time. The fun really comes from having close races or having close matches or doing like one-on-one and Halo or Call of Duty or whatever, and having those close rounds. I think that that's where the fun of most games comes from, and that's why I think it's important to be balancing. So like I said, the Stormtroopers almost always win. I've only won as the Ewoks like 2 or 3 times. I think if they were going to fix it, something they could do is increase the damage that the Ewoks do, or make the health much lower for the Stormtroopers. Maybe not necessarily one hit because the Ewoks have those grenades and it'd be too. I mean, that'd be way too easy. But maybe give them like only 50 health or something.
Or just increase the health on the Ewoks a little bit.
Yeah, I mean they could increase the health on the Ewoks, but I think it makes sense for them to have low health. And I think that the Ewoks should be one hit as well. Usually, in these like zombie, infection, plague, flood game modes, the zombie has very low health. But it's just like these Stormtroopers are just tanks, Like early in the video, I was just smacking a guy. I hit him probably 3 or 4 times, and he didn't die. So it's...
Well, maybe the easiest fix there would be just to have a little more damage from the spear.
Well, that's what I'm saying. I think that they should increase the damage from the spear, and I think that they could maybe decrease the health a little bit of the Stormtrooper.
Maybe. I don't know. I think the spear change would be more beneficial, but maybe both.
Yeah, or they could make it start with more than one Ewok as well.
For some reason I thought it started with 2.
I'm pretty sure it starts with 1.
I don't know. We might have to look that one up.
Yeah, we might have to check that out.
Either way.
Yeah. Well, I think overall this game mode is pretty good. The balancing is not quite there yet, but this might be one of the funner game modes in the game. Actually, I could see this kind of branching off, and maybe they would do like a Hoth map with Wampas, or a Kashyyyk map with like Wookiees that maybe don't have their bowcaster, but you can do like massive melee damage. I'm reminded of the scene in Star Wars where Chewie's gonna rip off Luke's arms or whatever. So I think this is an interesting launching point, and not really what everybody wanted with Clone Wars content and stuff, but I could see some really good stuff coming out of this game.
Yeah, I just kind of wonder, like, the longevity, though. I don't know if I could see myself playing this hours on end, week after week. It's fun, but is it that fun?
Yeah, but is any game really that fun?
Well, I mean, we do it with a lot of other games.
That's true.
But if we had more options and it was like just a general game mode, and you might be an Ewok this time, you might be a Tauntaun next time, that might have some appeal. It might increase the longevity.
Yeah, I think it would be really cool for them to have a Hoth Wampa map, honestly.
Yeah, there's other things they could do too. There's a lot of different creatures in this universe, but
like the Sarlacc pit somehow.
That would be a little bit crazy. I don't know how that would work.
They should add that map to this game.
I don't know. Maybe.
Yeah, or I don't know. They could also. I'm trying to think if they could. The health regen in this mode is a little. There is still some, so if they got rid of it completely, that might balance it out a little better too.
Oh, like for the Stormtroopers?
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. There's definitely a change they could make, but overall, I think it's fairly solid.
Yeah.
It's not my favorite, but it's way better than Jump Pack Trooper in my opinion. I can't stand jump packing stuff. So
I guess in review, we like the game mode, but we're a little confused about why we got it at this time.